great good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Monday, December 22nd, year of our Lord 20 and 25. My Picardo's jeweler watch tells me it's 9:44. Well, 9:45 here in the great Northeast. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, broadcasting today from the United States of America, the greatest country that ever existed, and the place for the brave, like the veterans we salute today, thanks to John Basiliga and his Great Eastern Roofing Systems Company, like Richard Witkowski, Lake Ariel, Thomas Nylon, Wilkes-Barre, Gerald Jerry Arzy, late of New York, but he was from Peckville, and Scott Chapin from Glenburn. The United States of America, the country founded with a certain knowledge and understanding by our incredible, amazing, irreplaceable founding fathers, that government would not be, cannot be, shall not be our parent, our guide, our direction, our salvation. Not any of these things, because they would abuse the power. But the government should be nothing more than a necessary evil we require to organize and protect society. The United States of America, the country where, for the first time in human history, freedom is declared to be an unalienable right granted to each individual by God. It's not something that can be parceled out to groups. Freedom couldn't be controlled by government or government officials, because our great American Constitution ensures and codifies freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, economic freedom, and yes, freedom of the press, no matter how they use it. Now, armed with these freedoms, and only because they had them, a ragtag bunch of immigrants, rejects, and their progeny created the richest, most powerful, most culturally diverse and accepting nation ever to grace our planet Earth. America, the only place specifically invented and designed so that every American can live their life in the manner they choose, unlimited by their background, upbringing, race, color, or creed, unhindered by the government or those who would use government to control others for their own comfort, benefit, or power. This Bob Cordaro Show, well, it'll always be convincingly conservative, lovingly logical, proudly and passionately patriotic, and reliably right. And indeed, we do mean the double entendre. Our commitment to common sense will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all of you as we gavel to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense. So just delayed today. My apologies. I had to get in here. I just said I got to get in here for you, but I've got to get in for the sponsors and all of that. So happy to be with you in person. They call it the best of when I'm not here, and that's what the Bulldog says anyway. And I'm like, I don't know. That's a little, first of all, it's a little presumptuous to say it's the best of. But the second part of all of that isn't this the best when I'm actually here? What do you think about that, Bulldog? I mean, don't you? I take it a little bit offensive. I know you're eating something. That's irrelevant. You don't have an answer for this, do you?
No. Well, I mean, it's like the best.
There's only best. That's it. It doesn't get better. There's no better than best. So I think you better rethink that when I'm not here. I won't be here tomorrow.
Okay. Encore presentation.
That may be more accurate. I might not have been on the day that I might have been a little bit off gear on a day that you're playing a tape of. We don't know. I think it's a little presumptuous and a little bit offensive. So we're going to reform the Bull. We'll see what he does tomorrow. Now, he's going to go do what he wants to do anyway. He is. He just is. That's what Bulldogs do. Anyway, we're going to have Monday Musings, because I had originally had to tell both he and Chet Parlavecchio for the Monday wrap-up. I had to tell them both, hey, I may not be there because of this funeral. My dear friend, John Bamford, passed away. and he's being waked at church on Davis Street in Scranton. And I got there early and was able to come and do this, but he's going to be missed. Well, my Picardo Jewelers watch says 9:50. Bloomberg Money Minute. Cat Matthews, local artist, Peckville. Snow on a Christmas Morning. Great Christmas song. We've been playing it every day. Bob Cordaro back. Surprisingly here. I think I did tell you I probably wouldn't be here, but I was able to come. I was able to pay respects to my friend John Bamford and then get here, which I'm happy. Somebody says, Bob, LTS, I can't always catch your show because of my schedule, but always appreciate you remembering our great veterans. I also appreciate your common sense approach to politics, even though we live in a blue region. I wonder if you waited on the banner the Democrats put up at Biden's homestead. Oh, yes, we did. And we're not done weighing in on that. Look at, if you thought Joe Biden was a good president or represented this area in anything other than a shameful way, well, then there's something wrong there. But if you want to put a banner up for him because he was the president of the United States, that's fine. But do not give me stolen valor with those beautiful hometown heroes banners and one in his honor because he was 5 times deferred. Didn't happen. And Music Man says, I think it's shameful and an insult to anyone who served our great country. I agree. 100%. Ginny C checking in. She's happy I'm here in the flesh. A day without me is like a day without sunshine. She says, well, LTS back at you, Ginny. Somebody says, sorry, I don't listen to reruns. Well, it's not a rerun. And you might have missed something. I actually, if I'm out of town or wherever, I'll listen to the show just to make sure that, well, am I saying and too much, those kinds of things. So I listen, and I actually learned things that I maybe missed when the actual show was going on. But he says, sorry, I don't listen to reruns of anybody. Well, this ain't a rerun. Somebody else texted in, sorry to hear about John Bamford. I catted for a fellow by that name at Glenmar, and that would be John, a true gentleman. He was a great guy. Very, very enjoyable. We're going to have Monday Musings on the other side of the hour. You can call in. I'm here, 570-883-0098. And we'll be taking your calls and talking. I'm going to be off tomorrow. I'm going to, Bo Dietl has a Christmas party. He's a frequent guest on the program, known him a long time through Don Imus when I was in the radio business on the business side of things as a radio station owner. But going to his party this afternoon. And so I'll be off tomorrow, but I will be back for Christmas Eve. When the Bulldog said he'd be here Christmas Eve, I said, then I'll be here Christmas Eve. Bulldog, are you here the day after Christmas? No, correct? Oh, you are? Okay, well, I don't plan on being here for now on the 26th. Okay. I thought it was a holiday, so I just took it off. Now I have to untake it off if I'm going to be here. Well, we'll see how that goes. We'll see. I don't think so, though. I don't think I'll be here Friday. But, yeah, much to talk about today. But one of the things I wouldn't mind talking about, guys, if you've got a Christmas tradition, we're going to talk about it almost exclusively on Wednesday, Christmas Eve. But if you've got a Christmas tradition or something like that, maybe you could let us know what it is. We do the 7 fishes, although we do it in the Slovak tradition, not in the Italian tradition, although we now have bacala, which is good. But it's a beautiful holiday if you don't let the commercialism that has really stolen the holiday from a lot of people's hearts, if you don't let it interfere. And you can do both. You can have both. You can have a great Christmas. I tell you, oddly enough, I got my Christmas spirit going to Picardo's. I really did. It just put me in the seasonal mood because it's just such a beautiful store. The people, the Picardo's are just so great. And I got in the Christmas spirit because of that. All right, we'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. Time for the news. We'll be back with Monday Musings. great good morning, everyone. My Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 10:07 and change here in the great Northeast. This beautiful Monday, December 22nd, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values. And with the help of our friend John Basiliga and his great Eastern Roofing Systems, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like Thomas Nylon, Wilkes-Barre, Richard Witkowski, Lake Ariel, Scott Chapin, Glenburn, and Jerry Arzy, late of New York State, but he was from Peckville. So with history, our great founding fathers, and the incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle, gaveling to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that our commitment to common sense will create a sanctuary of sanity for all of you in a world where the Democrat Party, its entire leadership, the establishment, and elected officials all over this country have gone insane. It's not you. It is them. Believe me. So it is Monday. And Monday means a few things. But one of the things it means is Monday Musings. And here he is, our man, John Perillo. John, how are you?
I'm good, Bob. Thank you for having me on. I'm glad you were able to make it in.
Merry Christmas.
I'm sorry about your friend.
Yeah,
and Merry Christmas to you as well. And hey, for your listeners today, this is time of year we hear about joy, and we hear a great deal about the happiness of having family around, the joy of Christmas. And I thought, since it is Christmas week, maybe we could muse about that just for a bit today.
Sure.
And we hear about it everywhere, right? There's joy if we just buy this or eat that or travel to this beach or whatever it is that we're being told. And with a week like this last one, with the Bondi attacks, which happened while people were celebrating the joy of Hanukkah, or the Brown University shootings, it seems reasonable to ask if we're missing something. And there was a piece by Catherine Jean Lopez that caught my attention, because in it, there's a link to a video of some Israeli hostages who were celebrating Hanukkah in a tunnel, knowing that they were about to be killed by the Hamas captors. And in that video, there's 6 men praying psalms, singing, being comrades, family, if you will, to each other, all right before they were executed. And nothing I'll talk about today should cause us to ignore the horror of what those men endured, but it should help us understand that joy, real joy, is possible no matter what we face. And that joy can only come from one place, and it isn't shopping. And because it's Christmas week, I hope you'll indulge me with some openly theological musings just for this week, right? And there was a Catholic priest that a gentleman named Father Depp, who Miss Lopez mentions, who was writing from the Tegel German prison death camp. And his writings were smuggled out on scraps of paper before he was hanged. And he wrote, quote, "The conditions for true joy have nothing to do with conditions of our exterior life, but consist of man's interior frame of mind and competence, and which makes it possible now and again for him to sense, even in adverse external circumstances, what life is basically about," end quote. Interesting word there, competence. And he wrote this from a concentration camp. He's starving, he's lice-infected, and he knows that he's likely to die like so many others. And he goes on, quote, "How should we live so that we are capable or can become capable of true joy? This question should occupy us more today than it has in the past," end quote. And again, he's in a prison camp, and he says, today more than most. Kind of gives us some perspective, doesn't it? And this priest goes on to say, quote, "Man should take joy as seriously as he takes himself, and he should believe in himself, believe in his heart, and in his Lord God, even through darkness and distress, that he is created for joy," end quote. Man is created for joy. What a statement, right? And again, this guy's in a concentration camp. And we actually know scientifically, if you will, what brings humans joy. I mean, people study the topic and compile statistics, and when they do, they basically arrive at the point that St. Thomas Aquinas arrived at in the late 1200s. But, hey, better late than never, right? And St. Thomas wrote, quote, the final happiness of man does not consist in anything short of the contemplation of God, end quote. Well, Aquinas was a Catholic who meditated and wrote his entire life, so you have to kind of expect that answer from him. But what's interesting is that everything he wrote about back then seems to match what we've spent the time since the end of the 13th century to today trying to understand. And is it just me, or is it really interesting that we keep asking questions, the answers to which we already know? The only issue is that we aren't satisfied with those answers, right? Or be it politics or anything, we always know the answer. We just don't like it. Anyway, most of the studies, today's studies, conclude the same things, which is that happiness isn't about eliminating bad things or bad thoughts, but managing them and then accentuating the many positive things in life, which is what our ancient weird odd friar Thomas Aquinas said. He didn't say that our earthly wants and passions were bad. After all, God created those too, but that we shouldn't allow those cravings to control us. Now, of course, that's not easy, but what he said was that we needed to be consciously aware of our impulses, and that doing that would help us have control over them. So that means we need our intellect for happiness, because this is, it's our reason that manages our passions, managing passions. And by the way, didn't we just talk about Madison and how we needed to control our unruly passions? Mm-hmm. And if you were around last week, we did, in fact, just talk about that. And that relationship between what we feel, our passions, and our intellect leads us to the third thing that Aquinas talks about, which is our will. And we can and must choose good things. They don't just happen. They're a conscious choice. And I have to choose them over perhaps a shorter-term satisfaction that I might crave right now, be that something physical or some emotional release of my unruly passions, back to James Madison. And that intellectual willpower to choose the right thing, that we're here not talking about the unimportant things that we usually mean, like, when we talk about self-control, like being on a diet or smoking, but far more important to choose to properly order our thoughts and to put God in the center, to refuse to give in to negativity and to be more like our Israelis celebrating in the tunnel or our priests in the concentration camp. And that's a skill that we can develop and we can get better at it by practicing it. And in that sense, great intellect isn't the ability to ace your finals or to remember how to properly apply Boyle's gas law, but the willingness and the ability to contemplate and appreciate divine truth independently of our mortal brain power. And that takes effort, deliberative, repetitive effort, as well as the willpower to push the trivial out of the way. And again, we're back to remembering James Madison on our tendency to be consumed by the ridiculous. And there are, according to St. Thomas, 3 keys to happiness. The first is knowledge. And that isn't a general, who's the first president kind of knowledge. It's knowledge of ourselves. Do we know what drives our desires, our habits, why we act like we do, why we choose something destructive, for instance, and why we're able to resist something else? That's step 1. And once we understand those things, we should manage those things. So the person who is endlessly curious should indulge that. And the person who is passionate about learning should use every opportunity to learn. And the person who's a caring person should indulge that emotion. The person who covets probably should work hard, just as hard, not to pick up stuff in the store that doesn't belong to them, or to think about the person who they perceive to have a better life than they do. Whatever your positive impulses are, you should cultivate them, and whatever your negative ones are, actively work to repress them. And don't hang out with people who feed your baser emotions, either physically or on social media. You need to cut them out of your life entirely. And that requires the last thing, which is willpower. And there's lots of evidence that willpower is like any other muscle, it improves with use. Now, Aquinas tells us that it still leads to imperfect happiness because doing all that perfectly is impossible, obviously. But far more difficult, is that they sometimes can be contradictory. So you're trying to be a great provider for your family, for instance, which is objectively good, and you struggle with wanting prestige, which is prideful and sinful. Well, doing both is going to be difficult, but you have to try to be mindful of your motivations and your passions. And I go back to those Jews in the tunnel in Gaza. It would have been an extraordinary act of human will not to want to escape or to be fed or to be hugged by their families or to want to know that those same families knew that they were okay. And I'm sure that they did all those things. And still they chose to celebrate Hanukkah in that tunnel, to recite the Psalms, to be brothers, to not lose their humanity in the face of the gravest inhumanity. A couple of Islamists in Bondi, Australia cannot stop people like that. They were, are rather, in my mind, too powerful. We had a Polish priest in our parish before we moved out here, and his job as a child in the concentration camps was to load the bodies of the children who had died in the night into the furnaces so they could be cremated. That was our priest in our parish.
Wow.
And when he grew up, he decided he wanted to understand what could make man that sick. He chose that. That's a willpower that I willingly admit that I don't possess, but it is possible to possess it. And this week for Christmas, we celebrate God becoming man, choosing to live as a man with all the temptation and pain that comes with that. And it all looks good in tinsel and wrapping paper, but I actually have a barn with animals, and it smells, and it's either very cold or very hot, and it's always drafty, and it can still be a place of great peace and wonder if we deliberately choose to make it so, and to see the baby there for what he is. He's the ultimate choice, and therefore the ultimate gift. Joy to the world indeed, joy to the world every day in every circumstance, and to my my Hanukkah and Christmas wish for you all is the same habit of joy.
Amen.
And thank you
Amen.
for having me on this week, and I hope you guys have a great Christmas week, and I hope it's filled with the kind of joy that we're just talking about.
Amen. John Perillo, Monday Musings. Thank you, my friend. Good Christmas week message. Good Hanukkah message. We'll talk to you next week. Have a great Christmas, friend.
You too. And I look forward to seeing you out here again. Take care, guys.
All right, man. We'll be back. It's the Bob Cordaro Show. Brenda Lee, Rock Around the Christmas Tree, Murph says, from 1958. And Kurt Waldheim, ascending to the former Austrian president, Secretary General. He underwent a little bit of Nazi dusting in his past and had to overcome that to become the head of the UN, but in any event, he made it. My brother Mike sent me this thing. And do you know Ben Stein? He's this character. I think he was a tax attorney, or is. And he's got this low, droll voice. And he'd do some commercials of different types. He was in, they'd be in different movie spots and everything. And then he had Win Ben Stein's Money. There was a show about it. Anyway, a very intelligent guy and a character. Now, here's his paradoxical quote of the day from Ben Stein. Fathom the hypocrisy of a government that requires every citizen to prove they are insured, but not everyone must prove they are a citizen. Now, add this, he says. Many of those who refuse or are unable to prove they are citizens will receive free insurance paid for by those who are forced to buy insurance because they are citizens. You see how insane they are? This is how insane they are. So when we say sanctuary of sanity, that's what it's for. That's what it's for. Amazing. So John touched on something, John Perillo, joy. And I had slightly different definitions of it, but because there's settings where you're not going to experience true joy, you're going to experience contentment, or hope to anyway. Content with where you are and what is. But you cannot change your circumstances. You can change your approach to the circumstances you find yourself in. And that's the key. By the way, somebody texting in, Bob, here's a wild one from last night in Miners Mills. Well, on this, it's a Facebook thing. I can't find it. You have to send it to my email, which is robert.cordaro, Cordaro, at Odyssey, AUDACY.com. Robert.cordaro at Odyssey.com. I'd love to see what was going on in Miners Mills last night. A friend of ours texts in, Bob, I met the mother of fallen state trooper and ex-Marine. There are no ex-Marines, by the way. Marine Josh Miller. Can we honor Josh? Peggy, his mom, who should be retired, is a caregiver who has to work. Well, Peggy has a heavy heart this season. Let's honor Josh and Peggy. Let's lift Peggy's heart this season of Jesus' birth. And thank you. That's very nice. That's very nice. Peggy, mother of fallen state trooper and Marine Josh Miller, God bless you. I don't know how easy it is for people, but we try to focus. I just tell people, focus on a really great Christmas if you're going to have one that's not so great. Focus on a really great Christmas. God bless you, Peggy, man. As I tell you, not everybody's going to have their, and I'm fortunate to have had it, well, except for a little break of about 9 years, I'm fortunate to have had the Norman Rockwell Christmas my whole life. You know? Great stuff. Somebody says, that was just great. Perillo does it again. Things to ponder deeply. Now my went off. Things to ponder deeply. The greatest mind in church history St. Thomas Aquinas. Yes, indeed. He had such a powerful, mystical encounter with Christ later in life that he stopped writing his famous Summa Theologica, saying of what he wrote, all is straw. Yeah, the wisdom of Aquinas is beyond, well, there's some compare, but not much, at least in humanity. By the way, I don't know, it's just me. I think I told you when I was in prison, I read the whole Bible. And, could I remember? No. I'm not one of those people that could quote the Bible or anything like that. But I read the whole Bible. I had the time. Anyway, the wisdom of Solomon. We're getting into wisdom. I didn't find him to be wise at all. I found him to be, I don't know, just a very greedy, materialistic person, which is the exact opposite of wisdom. God gave him great wisdom, but man, he strayed from God. And I'll stand corrected if someone knows better than me, but I mean, yeah, he spewed wisdom. He provided wise quotes and a couple of stories and analogies which are wise or representative of wisdom. But I mean, he was worried about how much gold he had and how expensive the chalices were that he drank his wine out of. I didn't see it. Speaking of wisdom. And that's why we turn to people like Aquinas instead of people like King Solomon. And if anybody has any corrections on that, feel free, but just something that came to mind. Somebody said another example of complete left insanity, Fox News website today. I got this from my man Frank, sent it to me today. The electric school buses. They can't keep the heat on in the buses for the children because it kills the battery. And they don't get back and forth to school. Numerous bus interruptions, no heat for the kids, insanity. I know it. Did you hear them? And that was Kamala Harris's airheaded excitement about electric school buses. These people are crazy. I don't know about your school district, but I know they gave Scranton School District a lot of money to buy electric school buses, which are a waste. And now New York State's finding that out in the middle of the winter. Crazy. They're so devoted to their agenda that common sense and being normal goes out the window. That is your Democrat Party of today. It's craziness. Amen. All right. Well, my Cordaro Jewelers watch says 10:31 and change. That means we've got to take a break. We'll hear from our great sponsors. We'll come back. We'll do our Veterans Tribute, the weather, and more on the Bob Cordaro Show. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our friend John Basiliga. Today featuring his first and his biggest company, Eastern Roofing Systems, the premier roofing contractor for industrial, commercial, and institutional buildings in the eastern United States. And guess what? They use all that buying power and all that experience. And because they're headquartered in Jessup, they'll do your house, they'll do your small business or building right here in Northeast Pennsylvania. Eastern Roofing Systems. Thomas Nylon. He was but 77 when he passed December 9th. He was from Wilkes-Barre. He was residing at the Geno Murley Veterans Center. Born in Wilkes-Barre, he was a graduate of Ashley High School and served all of us in the United States Navy during the Vietnam War aboard the USS Saratoga. Tom was employed as a superintendent for Popple Construction. In his spare time, he enjoyed attending car shows with his 1949 Ford truck. The family wants to thank the staff of Geno Murley, that great Veterans Center. Surviving, Tom's wife of 50 years, Donna Chase Nylon, his children, grandchildren, and many other family members. Thomas Nylon. Richard Witkowski. We lost him December 3rd at age 80. He was from Lake Ariel. A brief but courageous battle with cancer. His loving and devoted wife of 45 years is Marion Fuller Greenberg Witkowski. Richard was born in Scranton, educated at Scranton Public Schools. He joined the U.S. Armed Forces and was a sergeant in the Pennsylvania Army National Guard. He also attended the Hershey State Police Academy, Hershey, PA, and he was a Scranton police officer under Mayor Gene Hickey of Scranton. Prior to his retirement, he was also employed by Sinram and was a deputy sheriff for Wayne County. He loved spending time with his wife, family, and friends, traveling, camping, hunting, fishing, playing the guitar. He had a love for music, and he played lead guitar in the band Travelin' Sound. Surviving, 2 sons, a daughter, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and many other family members. Tragically, he was predeceased by his sons, Richard Witkowski Jr. and Alan Greenberg Jr., and his grandson, Richard Witkowski III. Richard Witkowski. Our Veterans this hour brought to you by John Basiliga and Basiliga Hospitality. Storm Tracker 16 forecast for meteorologist Ali Gallo. Today breaks the sun, then increasing clouds this afternoon. High of 35. Tonight, cloudy with snow developing. Tonight into Tuesday morning, low 30. Tuesday, snow accumulating 1 to 3 inches with higher amounts north and east of Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, high 35. Wednesday, Christmas Eve, partly sunny, 38. Thursday, Christmas Day, cloudy with scattered showers, high of 40. No music, Bulldog? What was the name of this Christmas movie? I love that song, but the movie was cute as hell. I'm looking at the Bulldog to tell me. Forget what a it's a waste of time. My gosh. You had to have seen this. I wish he was on film. He was thoughtfully scratching his chin as though he was going to come up with the movie name. One of you guys will, though. I've got complete confidence, by the way. St. Bob, there's one of our great listeners calls me a saint. Thank you. I'll take that. California's in big trouble. Phillips 66, Chevron, Valero are shutting refineries down in the middle of January, and gasoline is going to hit close to $10 to $12 a gallon there. People have to travel 50 to 75 miles just to fill their tank up with gas, all because of Gavin Newsom's policies. He is a complete idiot. Continuing, service stations in California are closing at an alarming rate. You may want to check into that one. Well, you check into it and let me know. But, yeah, nuts. Now, a counterpoint on the electric school bus thing. Now, remember who they have to buy them from. Favored vendors. Just remember that. And they don't have to worry about whether they work or not. It's the government. But our great listener says, I don't know what New York State is doing wrong, but an electric school bus is not a waste. I mean, I drive an Amazon. And remember, you are comparing apples with oranges. Please remember that. But he continues. I drive an Amazon delivery truck that is electric, and sometimes I'm 13 hours straight making deliveries. And by the way, thank you for that. I don't have to stop and charge it. I highly doubt the school bus can run that far. This cold spell we had, yeah, the rains, well, I think he's saying the power dropped, but I still got my entire shift in on a single charge. So another count he heard from, electric vehicles have their place. But see, what the left lunatics do is they shove them in round pegs in square holes. They don't care if they work. They don't care if, and a school bus has a very different mission. Remember, it travels twice a day. Now, you would think it could get it done, but I've read this report, and it's widely reported that in the cold, they're having all kinds of problems with electric school buses. And by the way, thank you for passing that on. I don't want to decry electric vehicles, but the main point is they are not, and I say not better for the environment. It's a lie. Number two, if you can use it and you've got a backup, fine. But don't force them on us. That's all I really care about. Hey, if you want to buy, if Amazon wants to buy, like we know one of our great beer distributors, LT Vrastro, gas-powered, natural gas-powered. Colts, the County of Lackawanna Transit System, gas-powered buses. Very effective, natural gas. I think that's a better alternative, by the way. But let's go aside from that. An electric vehicle, and I've driven them, and I've been in them, and I've seen them, and they've got their place. Just don't force anyone to have one. That's all. And don't waste our tax dollars on them. If a school district wants to buy them, fine. But the federal government under Biden, the disgrace, was giving money that became mandated for school buses to be electric, a certain amount of the fleet, and they were eventually going to replace it all. And when a problem like this crops up, there is no backup. Very important to remember. I'm against mandates, not against a company making a choice or an individual making a choice that they want battery-powered vehicles. That's fine. But forcing it making it happen, making it a requirement when it is not even better for the environment. Net, it is not. One of the factors nobody thinks about. Never mind the damage to the roads because they're so much heavier. Never mind the amount of tires you need because they're so much heavier, battery-powered cars. But the tread on the cars, nobody thinks about this. The tread on the cars, on the tires, wears out and goes into the environment and is not good for the environment. That's the mining process for all the materials, the manufacturing process, and the fact they're powered by electricity. Where do we get electricity? 20% of it comes from coal. It's insanity. And by the way, the rare earth minerals and critical components of battery-powered cars come from China. Dear Lord. It's, again, this is who these people are. This is who they are. They're scary people. They're scary how insane they are, but they're fully committed to their insanity. Never forget that. Oh, we'll have a multicultural society with Islamic fanatics. We'll have a political alliance with Islamic fanatics who will kill us first if they ever take control. It's just, I'm telling you, they're nuts. Please don't lose focus on that important focal point. We'll take a break and be back. That's Jessup native Robert Michael. Christmas lights on Church Street, and he means the lights on Church Street in Jessup. Great song, great song. Back to something we mentioned earlier, and one of our great listeners pointed out. Peggy Miller. She's the mom of Pennsylvania State Police and Marine Josh Miller, who we lost. And he just exhorts. He said, if you know Peggy, call her. Just give her a call or drop her a note. Tell her you're thinking of her. That's all. Let her know she's loved. And that's very nice of you to do that and mention it to us. It's my pleasure to mention it. Somebody says the movie is Christmas Vacation. No, that's All I Want for Christmas Is You is not from Christmas Vacation. A rare miss by one of our listeners. But then they redeem themselves in a great way. Peggy's a great person. She took care of my dad. And that's who we're thinking about. We're thinking about her and everybody in situations like her. Think of our own Lorraine and Hazelton. Yeah. It's not an easy holiday for a lot of people. Just please remember that. By the way, did you notice the announcement from Gerald Ford? Mr. Paul's reminding me that I didn't talk about it. This is 1975, this date. The Energy Policy and Conservation Act. Now, I'm sure there were bad things in it, but I want you to remember the Congress was dominated by Democrats. Let's look at how they've descended into a complete ideological left-wing abyss in 50 years. Could you imagine them voting for more exploration of natural gas and more exploration of domestic oil? They're trying to fight it every step of the way to go to green energy, which is represented by battery-powered cars, which are worse for the environment. So what does that make you conclude? It's about a bunch of dummies following a bunch of people who want to control your life because they could do it through a battery-powered car. They can't do it today with our system of gas stations, some independently owned, competitive gas stations. It's absolutely crazy. One of our great listeners texts in, I totally agree with you, Bob. Battery-powered cars definitely have their place. As far as most of us needing a reliable vehicle to get to and from work, go see a family out of town. They're not practical. They're excellent for delivery and last-mile services. In fact, at the turn of the 20th century, there are more electric delivery vehicles on the road than gas. And it is a lie that they're better for the environment. Just because the electric vehicle, where are we? Yeah, but they're saying it's just another option if you want to propel your vehicle. Gasoline, diesel, electric, pick the one you want. That would have made more sense than forcing all of us to have them. And they should have been honest about electric vehicles, our listener says, instead of trying to lead everybody else to believe it's better for the environment. Just be honest. Well, they can't. All their policies are wrong. And the ultimate purveyors of the insanity of the left are people who want to control other people's lives because they want power and they want to be comfortable with who you are and that you're in your place. They don't want you driving all around the country when you want to. They want control. Lack of control makes them very uncomfortable. This is the Democrat Party today. It's for the same reason they're uncomfortable about people having their own guns. I have my Byrna because I can't own a gun. But they're uncomfortable about people having guns. And they're constantly on that drumbeat. Think of this pretentious, ridiculous ass in Australia. The most gun control maybe in the world. And they let a couple of Muslim fanatics have a cache of weapons, but nobody else can have them to protect themselves. They're insane across the board. They're wrong across the board, period. I don't care what policy you want to pick. The open border, cashless bail, closing prisons. What policy do you want? Gender-affirming care? Which insane policy do you want? None of it makes sense and is the exact opposite of that which is good for society. That's who they are. Bulldog's telling me I got to go to the news, but I'm in a lather. I don't get on this subject that often because you think it's settled, but no, they're not going away. Please remember, why do you think we play from our man Mark Mayer, Levon Helms? The battle is over, but the war goes on. Because it does. We'll take a break because it is news time. And my Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it's almost 11:02, so we're a little late. It was worth it. We'll take this break and be back with our man, Chet Barlavecchia, with the Monday wrap-up. great good morning, everyone. My Picardo Jewelers watch tells me it's 11:08 and change here in the great Northeast. This beautiful Monday, December 22nd, year of our Lord, 2025. This is the Bob Cordaro Show. I am he, and it's a big day to fight for America, defend our values, and with the help of our man, John Basiliga, featuring today one of his great companies, Eastern Roofing Systems, to honor the brave who have made us and kept us free. People like Scott Chapin, Glenn Byrne, Gerald Jerry Arzi, laid to Port Ontario, New York, but he was from Peckville. Richard Witkowski, Lake Ariel, and Thomas Nylon, Wilkes-Barre. So with history, our great Constitution, the Founding Fathers, and that incomparable Constitution of the United States of America as our guides, let us continue today's battle. Gaveling back to order this meeting of the Club for Common Sense, promising you that we will provide a sanctuary of sanity for all when we've got an entire political party and a really substantial portion of the population that has gone insane. Whether it's battery-powered cars, the green, it doesn't matter what it is. They've gone insane. Yeah, let's have a multicultural society with sharing that with a group that doesn't believe in it, like the Islamists. Out of your minds? Chuck from Garden says, Bob, what about the disposal of electric vehicles after usefulness? It's insane. You're right. They don't know where to put the batteries, Chuck. I didn't even get to that point. Everything they believe in, and that's today's Democrat Party, they are wrong. Everything. And so somebody like my mother would say, well, Bob, they can't always be wrong. And I say, oh, yes, they can. Just like a surveyor. If he starts at the wrong point of reference, his entire survey is wrong. And that's where the Democrat Party and its leadership comes down. They're wrong about everything. They're insane. And by the way, being insane and exposed for insanity makes you even crazier. And that's where we are today with that crowd. Well, when I think of those things, I think of something nice. I think of something great. And then I think of, well, who embodies this kind of greatness? Well, it could be someone who was in Dancing with the Stars and actually danced to this song. It could be someone who starred at Penn State for the Nittany Lions as their great linebacker. It could be someone who starred for the Green Bay Packers, who coached in the NFL, who's in the New Jersey State Hall of Fame as a coach. It could be, well, indeed it is, our man, Chet Parlavecchio. How are you, brother?
Hey, partner, what's going on? I was just enjoying listening to you, man. You can't be more right if you try. Hey, I love it. I love it.
Hey, so Chester, these weekends are getting more and more interesting. I was telling Chet in our text conversation, I said, you're actually making me watch the NFL.
And let me tell you something. Lately, that's hard to do. If you're dealing from a local perspective, that's tough to do. The Jets and the Giants are unwatchable. They're unwatchable. So let's do like we always do. Let's start with the college. Now, I've been sitting out thinking about, obviously, the play of the day is the playoffs. I mean, obviously, it comes down to 4 games, the first round of this playoff format that we've all been waiting for. As the year goes by, you feel like you get the 12 best teams here. Well, in 2 of the games, I think you could sit and say you could see what the playoff could be if it's handled properly. You see Miami go down to Texas A&M, play a great football game, a great defensive battle. Mark Fletcher rushes for 172 yards. I mean, Carson Beck was just very, very average. Carson Beck didn't control the game as far as his arm. He did a great blend of the run and the pass, but Miami just did enough And Marcel Reed, defensively, offensively, he had a real tough day. Miami got after him. When you sack somebody 7 times and he throws 2 picks and 3 total turnovers decide football games, especially in a game like that. You can't do that. Whether you're home or away, you can't turn the ball over. So Miami, defensively, they come up with a great game plan. They do a great job on Reed. They force turnovers. They force sacks. They pressure him all day long, and they come up with a great, great road win. I think that's great for the ACC. I think that dispels a lot of the belief of the ACC, which I was one of those guys. I don't consider it one of the top 2 conferences in the country, and you can make an argument whether they're 3 or 4. But the bottom line is that did a lot for the ACC. Miami going there, beating Texas A&M in College Station with the 12th man and all of that. And I've played down there. That's a tough place to play. The decibels get loud. It reminds me of Seattle. It gets very, very loud down there. Very tough place to play. Kudos to Miami. So we go to the next one.
So now, is the first round played at a home field of someone, and then they go to neutral fields, or?
Yeah, the higher seeds. The first round all goes to the higher seeds, which makes it. Last year I think they were 4 for 4. All the home teams won.
Okay.
This year there was 2 upsets. Obviously Miami going to A&M is an upset, and the other one's not an upset. Oklahoma and Alabama. That's 2 great teams of great traditions. That to me is not an upset. You can make an argument that Alabama should have been 8, they should have been 9. That's neither here nor there. The bottom line was Oklahoma, who completely outgained Alabama, by a considerable amount. They had almost 400 yards in offense. But here's the lesson to be learned. You can't make special team mistakes. Special teams, Bobby, are 1/3 the football game. Special teams, and it's a funny thing because there's a couple games.
And this is coming from an NFL special teams coach, so you know.
Special teams coach.
Yeah.
And I'll even go one further for you. I learned a long time ago, I'll never forget Joe Paterno saying to us one time, he said, "You know something, boys? I'm going to tell you something right now. When you think doing punt or punt return, kick return is a day off," he said, somewhere in the season of an 11, 12-game season, a special teams play will decide 1 or 2 games. It happens every year. And you know something? The old man was right. There is no bigger swing in momentum in a football game than a big special teams play. You're Oklahoma. You have the game completely under control. Simple snap to the punter, and he drops it. From that moment on, that game turned. They had a 17-point lead and allowed Alabama to not only close the gap, but take the lead. Momentum completely swung in their favor, and the Crimson Tide pulls off a big upset in Oklahoma, which is another tough place. There are going to be no easy road games in the first round, and just another great win for Alabama on the road against Oklahoma. And again, a lesson learned. You just can't make special teams mistakes on the big stage. Then we go to the other 2, which there's my other side of the argument. The first 2 games we just discussed, I showed you what the greatness of this tournament could be if it's handled properly. Now I'm going to give you an example. Then we go to the other 2 games where probably in both games, people had turned it off at the half. The only reason you would have sat and watched the second game, the full game, was for the reason that I had to watch it, because I laid the 20 points, and I couldn't believe they were going to blow that. And they did. They allowed James Madison to have almost 500 yards in offense in Oregon. Oregon had put that game away early, and the only reason to watch that game literally from the second quarter on was if you bet it, because it was a completely non-competitive game. I know in the end, JMU had 500 yards in offense. It looked like, that was more of it was not. It was not. Dante Moore controlled the game. He had 4 touchdowns. Again, the only thing, if I'm Coach Lanning in Oregon, I'd be concerned about is, again, you gave up 500 yards in offense to essentially a team. You can make an argument whether they should have even been there or not. And with Tulane, that was a very interesting thing what Ole Miss. Same type of thing. Your kudos to the Ole Miss football team that was without their head coach. He had left them, and they showed no sign of missing them. They picked up, they did exactly what they had to do. They played a great football game. They the kid Trinidad Chambliss is an unbelievable football player. He had 3 touchdowns. He threw for 2. I think rushed for 1. Great football player. The kid's a transfer, got a guy you got from the portal, and he just seems to be so relaxed back there. They're going to be very interesting. But my point of this whole thing is you literally had 2 games that we wait the entire year to qualify for this playoff, and you literally had 2 games in the first round again, just like you did last year, that you turned the TV off or you went to the Ranger game and watched hockey.
Yeah.
It was that simple. Now, here's my feeling. Wouldn't it have been nice, Bobby, if that was Notre Dame, if that was Texas, if that was Vanderbilt? Wow, what a 4 games that would have been. How about a Vanderbilt Ole Miss first round game and a Texas Oregon first round game? How would that have been? So my point is, the people that are involved with this playoff system, it has the potential to be a lot of fun. It has the potential if you handle it right. You have to get a committee that works on this thing all year. It cannot be just given to a team just because they won what they consider a Power 5 conference. You have to legitimately – here's my answer to that. You rank them all year. When you see the rankings all year, it's 1 through 25. And there's no consideration of what conference a team is during the entire season. When we see that ranking, why all of a sudden does a team get consideration when the most important time of the year comes, the playoff system, because of the conference they're in? Because neither Tulane for the most part, and for sure JMU was anywhere near the top 12 all year. And yet at the end, you picked them to go in that tournament and create 2 games that were blowouts. They looked like bad spring games. They were bad. They were physical mismatches in both cases.
And that's ridiculous when good teams are on the sidelines.
And exactly. Yeah. And that's where the NCAA has to get a hold of this thing. They have to decide what it's going to be. Are we legitimately looking for the 12 best teams in the country? Or are we kowtowing to a conference title game or a conference champion? That's the decision that has to be made. Because this year you have the potential to have a really great first round. You know, last year when you had SMU have to go to State College and play Penn State. Are you kidding me? I mean, come on. Boise in the second round. You had teams that you should have learned last year. Yeah. It wasn't a real good look. So my point is this year was a beautiful illustration of 2 first-round games that should be and 2 that should never be. It should never happen that way in a playoff system that you play an entire season to try to qualify, and yet 2 teams get blown out like that were literally non-competitive. And like I said, Saturday night, people turned the TV off from 3 o'clock on. They never watched those
Chester,
games.
I just came up with the new name for this program. We're going to call it the Monday Mensch.
Like that. Give me that.
The Monday Mensch. I said they'd wrap up too dull. So our Chet Parlavecchio, our Monday Mensch. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to go to the pros. After this, it's the Bob Cordaro Show. Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, Murph says. Christmas all over again, 1992. And before that, you remember Bernie Getz? Dear Lord. I'm going to New York City, and I can't bring my Berna. And so I'm thinking, okay, we'll go anyway. But people don't recall. And that was 1984. The Bernie Getz saga. I think he's still alive. I think he is. Anyway, the Monday Mensch. And that's our man, Chet Parlavecchio. And I looked it up because I knew what it was, but I looked it up. It's a person of integrity and honor, and that's our Manchester.
Oh, thank you very much.
He's a mensch. He's a mensch. And it's Hanukkah, so we're nailing it on a couple of fronts. Yes.
Oh, that's all. Thank you, my friend. Now let's see how honest I am in the NFL. Because I honestly think, since I'm this man of honesty, it has been the most whacked out year in the NFL that I can remember in recent. Let's put it this way: I'm 65. I played in it when I was 22. It's been that many years between that I can't remember a season this crazy.
Wow.
Let's start with the locals. I mean, first of all, the good part of this is we're almost done having to do the Jets and the Giants. We're almost done because you know why? I'm sitting here and I'm looking up, when I do my homework, I'm looking up the statistics of the game, even though I watch every game, and I'm sitting there and I'm giggling to myself going, what do you want me to say about the Giants in Minnesota? Jackson Dart was 7 for 13 for 33 yards. My 8-year-old grandson was 9 for 11 for 42 in his final game. That says it all.
Yeah.
I mean, they had 140 yards in offense, the New York Giants. The New York Jets, the kid Brady Cook, I mean, he's trying. He threw for 190 or something like that, but he got sacked 8 times. I mean, the New York football landscape right now is really, I got to be honest, all kidding aside, these two teams have cashed it in. It's done. You could see it on their faces. You could see it on the coaches' faces.
Chet, nobody knows this better than you. The speed, the velocity with which those 8 sacks took place.
Oh.
I don't care how old you are. I don't care how big you are. That's coma time.
I mean, you get up. Let me tell you something. You get up if you're the quarterback and you look at the O-line, you say, you're kidding me, right? I mean, you are getting paid, right? This isn't you do get a check on Monday. I mean, you're at a point now where, all kidding aside, if you're an organization, you have to really sit there. I mean, the Giants are getting a new head coach. I personally don't think Aaron Glenn is getting it done. I think both these teams are verging on looking unprofessional. And I think that's the worst thing you could say to a football player. You're now verging on being unprofessional. Your obligation to the fan base is gone, and it just looks like to me you've packed it in. So, as far as those two teams go, but the good news is on the Pennsylvania side of the border, I like what I saw yesterday. Let me tell you something. That was the best Pittsburgh performance I've seen. I was very impressed. Even though it got crazy at the end, and that's fine. That's the NFL. Things are going to happen, and Detroit's too good a football team not to give you a push at the end. But here's what I like, Bobby. This is what you get when you can establish the run. And Warren rushed for 170-something yards. He had a great day, ran with authority. They had over 200 yards rushing. They had almost when has the Steeler team had 500 yards in offense? I couldn't tell you the last time I saw that.
And I thought the QB, Pittsburgh's QB he was Aaron Rodgers was really into the game, into the rhythm.
Let me finish my thought. This is exactly where I was driving with this. Here's what you should be excited about. When you give this man a running game, when you give a guy like Aaron Rodgers, a consummate professional that understands what he's looking at, and you give him a running game which allows you to keep the defense honest, it allows you now to get a better look at what they're doing defensively, because now they have to honor the run. So when they bring the 7th and 8th guy down into the box, He knows what he can do. He makes the adjustment. You saw yesterday a number of times him looking to the outside with a hand signal, bang, guy's wide open. That's if you can run the football with a guy like Aaron Rodgers, with his ability to dissect defenses and keep teams off balance, he's a nightmare because he could still make every throw. He could still make every throw. And for the most part, you can make a general statement, Bobby. You give any quarterback at that level the running game to go with it, they're going to be dangerous. But this guy even more because he forces you to identify defensively what you're doing before you want to do it. And that, to me, is a very dangerous combination. So, like I said, great job by the Steelers. And the Eagles, hey, they did what they had to do. I mean, let's be honest.
That's all they ever do, really. They don't. Yeah, they don't dominate a game. Even the Raiders game wasn't total domination. This was like they get it done, which you can't complain about that in the end.
No, Barkley went for 130 something, right? And they hold. The good news is defensively. Although, again, were you playing quarterback for them at the end this week? Was that you?
Was it a fat guy?
Really? I'm trying to think who was left. I mean, that was worse than Gardner Doo walking off the field in Kansas City. You're talking about a team that packed it in.
Ooh,
I mean,
boy.
wow.
Yeah.
But again, that's for Philly. They do what they have to do. And just to scan the rest of the league, I thought you had some interesting stuff. I mean, again, you look at the Bucks and Carolina, big game for first place because the team that doesn't win that is going to be out. I mean, you're not going to get a wild card out of that division, so they got to win. Now, the beauty was that game, literally everything was dead even. A misread by Mayfield at the end of the game, but prior to that, everything in that game was dead even. So a week from now or 2 weeks from now, I expect that game to be the exact same thing because they play in 2 weeks. This time will be down in Tampa, so it'll be interesting. Jacksonville, tell you what, man, people just better start taking notice.
Yeah.
I mean, Lawrence is growing up. That defense can run. They're physical. They're athletic. That was a great football game. I mean, but Jacksonville made a statement that this is not a joke. They're for real. And again, somewhere here he was going to grow up, and he's starting to grow up. I mean, he's getting good. Green Bay and Chicago, again, same thing for first place in the division. Again, what I talked about earlier, an unbelievable 8% opportunity to get an onside kick. Green Bay was in complete control of that game. Double-digit lead with 3 minutes to go and blow the football game. As a matter of fact, it's a funny thing. I said to my brother, who's a big Packer fan ever since I played for them, and we're Lombardi people in this house, and I told my brother, I said, Mark, that's a loss you don't come back from. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I said, you gear it up without Micah Parsons. You don't have him. You defend them better in Chicago without Micah Parsons than you did in Green Bay with him. I thought, what an effort they gave, and to give it away like that, and let's be honest, they gave it away. That's going to be a tough one for Green Bay to overcome. And the Patriots in Baltimore, the last one, let me tell you something. Drake May, there's a new class of young guns in the league, and Drake May is the leader of this group, in my opinion. He's the first. You could see his game just getting better and better and better. The kid Tyler Shugg down in New Orleans, I'm starting to like him a lot. He's catching my eye. There's a team that's struggling this year, but they're still playing hard. They won 3 in a row, and that kid is on the rise. So, again, 2 new young guns on the rise in the NFL, Shugg and May. I think there's a good bright spot for young quarterbacks coming on in the NFL, and it'll be interesting to watch their growth. And that's the week, buddy. That's
nice.
What happened.
Well, thank you, Chester. You put it in perspective. We appreciate it. We look forward to next week.
All right, brother.
But we love our Monday Mensch.
Well, just call me Eminem. That's my new name. I'm Eminem. Eminem, get on.
All right, man.
Hey, listen, brother. Have a great holiday with your family. God bless everyone in our listening audience, both people. And have a great Christmas.
Hey, Merry Christmas to all the Parlavecchios.
Thank you, brother.
Okay,
have a great
man.
one.
See ya. We'll take a break. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return. Our Veterans Tribute this hour and every hour, this day and every day. Brought to you by our friend John Basiliga. And we feature today just one of his great companies, but his biggest and his first, Eastern Roofing Systems. One of the premier roofing contractors for institutional, commercial, and industrial purposes in the eastern United States. And they bring that expertise right to you in your home or your small building in Northeast Pennsylvania because they're headquartered in Jessup. Eastern Roofing Systems. Scott Chapin. He was 84 when he passed November 25th after a courageous 3-year battle with Alzheimer's. Born in Glenburn, he spent most of his life in the Abington area before retiring to Florida in 2000. Graduate of Johnson College and proudly served us in the United States Navy Seabees, where he was stationed in Newfoundland before his honorable discharge in the early 60s. For years, he was troop leader for the Waverly Boy Scouts. A skilled and respected builder, Scott worked as a general contractor for more than 3 decades, constructing over 100 homes throughout the Abingtons. In 1975, he expanded his professional pursuits by opening Dalton Lumber and Supply Company, later Dalton DeWitt Center. He operated both the construction and the lumber business until selling the DeWitt Center in 2000. In retirement, he embraced his life fully. Avid and accomplished golfer, he had more than one hole-in-ones. Active member of the Scranton Canoe Club, the great Scranton Canoe Club, serving on the board as Commodore. He was also a member of Glen Oak and 3 different clubs in Florida. He also loved to travel, exploring 6 continents by both land and sea, with his beloved wife, Donna, by his side. Scott was preceded in death by his first wife, Fran Chapin, his second wife, Barbara Weber Chapin, his son, Scott, and his stepson, Jeffrey Saunders. He's survived by his wife of 15 years, Donna Garneau Chapin, his brothers, 4 children, his stepdaughter, 12 grandchildren, and others, family members. Scott Chapin. Jerry Arzy. He was 78 when we lost him November 17th. He was from Port Ontario, New York, but he was born in Peckville. He was the widower of Judith Sable Arzy, who died in 2024 after 42 years of marriage. He attended school in Blakely, signed up for the U.S. Navy in 1965, serving us for 4 years during the Vietnam era. He loved his country. He later resided in Hartford and Hop Bottom, where he started his family with his first wife, Mary Harhut Arzy. He was employed by Procter & Gamble until retirement in 1990, but he wasn't done yet. Following retirement, he and his second wife, Judy, moved to their vacation land on the shores of Lake Ontario. There he built and ran the Selkirk Shores Country Store. He loved to fish. The Pulaski Boylston Snowmobile Club, yeah, he was everywhere up there. Surviving him are his 8 children, 15 grandchildren, and 8 great-grandchildren. An incredible legacy. Saddened only by the death of his grandson, Gerald Arzy. Jerry Arzy. Our great veterans this hour, brought to you by John Basiliga and Eastern Roofing Systems. Storm Tracker 16 forecast from meteorologist Allie Gallo. Today breaks the sun, then increasing clouds this afternoon, 35. Tonight, cloudy with snow developing tonight into Tuesday morning, low 30. I'm guessing I'll be driving back into the snow tonight. Tuesday, snow accumulating 1 to 3 inches with higher amounts north and east of Scranton and Wilkes-Barre, 35 degrees. Wednesday, Christmas Eve, partly sunny, 38 degrees. Thursday, Christmas Day, cloudy with scattered showers, high of 40. Bob Cordaro back on the program. And let's go to the blower. We got a couple of calls here. Let's go to Jim from Hazleton. Hi, Jim.
How are you today, Bob?
I'm doing great.
So I saw you were in the lather earlier, so I figured I'd give you a call, take you out of your lather, give you a good laugh.
Okay.
Tell you Merry Christmas to you and your peoples.
Thank you.
So here's my comment. I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag with Bulldog when I talked to him. So here's my idea. Here's what I figured that the Democrats are going to do to pay back Donald Trump. So they're going to have esteemed artist Hunter Biden come in and take the auto pen down, have him draw his dad's picture for his portrait for the White House, and while he's there, what would be the other thing to do? Would be to put two little Hitler mustaches on Donald Trump's picture, since they've done nothing but call him Hitler. So you might as well add Hitler mustaches to his pictures in the White House.
Okay, there you go. We'll add a Hitler mustache to Biden's auto pen picture because, in fact, he's the guy who did the Hitler speech down in front of Independence Hall.
Yeah, they're just never gonna. They're not gonna give up on Trump. He'll be dead. They'll still be talking about him 30 years from now. I'll be in the nursing home.
Yeah.
I'll be sleeping in the nursing home, and they'll still be talking about Donald Trump being the devil.
But we know this, Jim. We know this. Everything they say about us is basically talking about themselves.
Well, that's what they say. Instead of accusing somebody, when you're doing something, you always accuse the other person of it.
Yep.
When the spouse is cheating, they're always they're saying that the other person's the cheater. When somebody's stealing, it's the other person. They're always blaming the other person for what's going on when they're doing stuff themselves.
I would
and
love
that's
to
what the
know.
Democrats are doing today.
I would love, Jim, to know where in history did less government and less government control mean less freedom. I haven't found it yet, but I'm looking.
Well, it's like that, you said earlier about we pay the second highest fuel tax in the country for whatever reason, I don't know. When all the coal that comes from this region and all the natural gas and all that stuff that comes from the ground that's making energy cheaper, we're paying all this money in gas. And it's sad. I used to drive truck years ago, and I just still do today. But it's cheaper to buy gas on Long Island, because I used to go out to Long Island a couple times a week. When gas is cheaper on Long Island than it is in Pennsylvania and Luzerne County, something's not right.
You know it.
It used to never even be close.
I know it. Hey, Jim.
It was 30, 40 cents a gallon more over there than it is here.
Jim, Merry Christmas to you, my friend. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I wanted to call you and just wish you a Merry Christmas before, in case I don't get to talk to you.
You always brighten my day. Thank you, man.
I'll
be
buddy.
off tomorrow, and I'll be back on Christmas Eve. But speaking right now, our friend Pastor Mitch, he's got a Christmas dinner giveaway this afternoon. Talk to me, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, Bob. How are you doing today?
Great.
Merry Christmas to you and your family and all the listeners.
Thank
today
you.
At New Hope Church, and it's 489 North Main Street, right across the street from Peter's Deli, and also on the square at the same time, 2 o'clock. We're giving away free, fresh made from a fancy restaurant. Owner wants to be anonymous, but it's free Christmas dinners, and they are pristine,
Nice.
fresh made. And it's to go. If anyone who's in need, or if you know someone who's in need, send them to the square in Wilkes-Barre at 2 o'clock this afternoon. It's first come, first serve. Or come to New Hope Church, 489 North Main Street, right across the street from Peter's Deli. And we just do this to show the love of Jesus.
Well, that's fantastic. Really nice. I appreciate that, Pastor Mitch.
God bless you, Bob. Have a Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you, my friend. Always love hearing from you. Pastor Mitch is always doing something great. This is just a great church. It really is. Hey, let's take our break now. Bob Cordaro, WILK. We will return. Whitney Houston from 1987. And December 22nd, St. Teresa, Mother Teresa. She says, love has no other message but its own. Every day, we try to live out Jesus' love in a very tangible way in every one of our deeds. If we do any preaching, it is done with deeds, not with words. This is our witness to the gospel. St. Teresa and her incredible ministry. By the way, we're going to finish, and this is our last chance to finish with the Adam Sandler Hanukkah song. It's the last day of Hanukkah. That celebration is just about over, and it is the Jewish holiday that commemorates the Maccabean revolt against the Seleucid Empire in the 2nd century BCE, when the Maccabees successfully recovered Jerusalem and the Second Temple. Started December 14th, ending today, Monday, December 22nd. Blessed Hanukkah to all our Jewish friends and to everybody. Hanukkah's just like Christmas. Everybody can celebrate it. Tony T checking in. Thanks, my man. Well, I won't be here tomorrow, but I will be back Christmas Eve. And I look forward to wishing you Merry Christmas then. I hope nobody minds that I'm calling a Gentile the Monday Mensch. My man, Chet Parlavecchio. Mensch, it's a general term. It's a Jewish, it's a Yiddish word, but it's describes my man Chester perfectly. And somebody asked him why they call him the Pie Man. No, he's not. He's not the Pie Man. Peter Della Porta is the Pie Man. And by the way, somebody else texted in about one of our great veterans. Dear Bob ALTS, Tommy Nyline grew up in Ashley and was a really nice guy. Well, our veterans, Jerry Arzy, Port Ontario, New York, but he was from Peckville. Scott Chapin, Glenburn, Richard Witkowski, Lake Ariel, and Thomas Nylon Wilkes-Barre. Our great veterans today, brought to you by John Basiliga and Basiliga Hospitality. As we approach 12 o'clock on my Picardo Jewelers watch, don't forget last-minute gift items. They will find something for you in your price range, and that's just right for whoever you're buying from. I promise you. Stop at Picardo's. Corner of Jefferson and Spruce Street, downtown Scranton. Caddy corner from the Radisson. Guys, have a great afternoon. Have a great evening. God willing, I'll be with you Wednesday morning, Christmas Eve. Happy Hanukkah. We are adjourned.